That's like some one of the topics I thought I wanted to talk about is I wrote down some that we could talk about. So initiation, rites of passage, awakening or spiritual awakening, or that sort of illumination equals increased responsibility and ownership of one's being. Biggest struggles men may face right now. And then it's like, which bee's nest do we want to poke? No.
Mm-mm-mm.
But
Yeah.
the other, so I saw a post. He's actually a mate of mine, and went and had a beer and a burger with him. Now I'm back on the coast. He's a good lad, and he was like expressing a heaviness of wishing he didn't bring his daughter in. Like him, he's pretty much about to separate with his missus, but sounds. Look, I'm not going to go into all that, but he kind of brought that up, and then I sort of rebutted it. I was like, oh look, I think it's a blessing, and because he's sort of like in the world's going to shit sort of stuff.
Mm.
And then I saw a post. He doesn't ever post, and he just wrote a post, and someone posted, "Yeah, I've got my nuts sealed up." And then I saw his comment, but I could feel the weight of his comment, not just playing on him, but I imagine there's other men out there in the same sort of train of thought or place of not wanting to bring in kids because of the state of the world.
Yeah.
Like almost like they're trying to, in some sense, there's a protective mechanism there, the protector. However, I wonder if it's also a bit contradictory to what God wants, what Creator wants.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
in some sense it's self-serving because yes, it's true what they're suggesting or may their view, but it's also like it's still self-orientated. It's like what will I have to do or how will I have to be in order to raise and guide my child while all this shit's going on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought maybe we could talk into that. I don't know. If there's a few threads we could go into. Like I said in that call, like just want to have an open discussion. Not really, you know.
Yeah. 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 Well, the other bit, I guess, is like it's already recording,
Yeah.
right? So we can just chat, like we are,
Yeah.
and just see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Open.
cool. I just had a really, really profound little moment there. Hey, I've been in my head a bit this morning. Had the first webinar around this unmarked process I've been opening up, and I just sat down and smoked some tobacco. Like I was really feeling like doing that. I haven't been smoking at all, and just to sort of ground myself a bit.
Hmm.
And it got real porous. I don't know if you ever see that sort of like sparkly kind of like fabric
Yeah.
sometimes when you get in that meditative state.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just sort of dropped into that for a moment there and sort of like felt like I was having a bit of dialogue and it was telling me to just like sort of let go and merge with the space. I think specifically probably in this dialogue, you've been doing a lot of that,
Hmm.
in the containers you've been in recently. So I'm happy to just see where it goes as well, man. But yeah, they're not wanting to bring kids in or wishing you had it. I mean, wishing you had it's a whole nother level to the not wanting to bring more kids in.
Definitely.
I, yeah, I've been in the like, I don't want to bring more kids in during COVID,
yeah, I
like
remember. Yeah.
apprehensive,
Hmm.
but I've never regretted bringing kids in.
No, neither.
Never like a backward slide.
No. And it kind of links into what I was saying about responsibility and ownership. You know. Like, like even with this child coming in for me, the fourth, that was fuck, man. Just finding out was there was a huge ontological shock.
Mm.
I was like, fuck. It took me about 2 months just to rest into the excitement of it all. Because I was kind of like, holy shit, like so much is happening. Now I'm just like pumped. I'm fucking so pumped. But
So
it's
good.
because but it took me a while to take full responsibility and ownership of what was occurring.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with like awakening. Like I think this is what I'm learning in this course I'm doing, or course container, whatever it is, cohort, is illumination and awakening. And when you start to see specific patterns, or because awakening doesn't always equal behaviors changing. You become awake to something doesn't necessarily mean your behavior is going to instantly change.
Yeah.
However, for some things, yeah, sure. If it's a shake and wake, you'll change pretty quickly. But with certain things, you can see it over and over and over again. Things that you don't place much weight, but they do hold weight.
Mm.
It's just that you can't feel or sense the weight to it.
What's an example of that?
Well, like you could just be eating food, eating a certain food that you desire, that you like, that you know isn't exactly good for you. And you can probably like I'll use me as an example. I've been smashing ramen ever since going to Japan. Like I've been frothing on
Yeah.
ramen. So I've been eating more ramen, and then even to the point where I've been eating the shitty packet ramen, the shin ramen. I'm
Yeah.
only having like maybe one packet a week or every fortnight. But after I eat it, I can feel how bad it is, right? I can feel my
Mm.
body's like, what are you doing? This is absolute crap. I can see it, can see that it's not good for me, but there's still a desire there. And there's a becoming of the desire, it wants to become, it wants to fulfill itself. Now I
Yeah.
could stop myself right before and just be with that desire until it exhausts, and then I've done this and it stops. And then
Yeah.
there it ceases. That's one example of but it holds weight because if I was to keep doing it, it goes to 2 packets a week, 3 packets a week. And all of a sudden it's like a staple, like some people with certain foods, certain
Mm.
could be even with drinking and beer. It starts with even tobacco, like you're talking about tobacco, right? It
Yeah.
can start
Yeah.
off as like, I'm just gonna have this one smoke a week or something. Friday is my tobacco day. I think we spoke about this here where you've sort of started and then all of a sudden slippery slope and all of a sudden you're like 3 months in, you're like, shit,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the difference with like an example of like awakening to something, but the behavior not changing, and then like what would you allocate to the behavior changing? Like what's the difference there?
I think the intention changes. The
Hmm.
intent changes, your attention shifts, and then you have more capacity. You start to increase your capacity to stay with the contradiction or what you're contending with. And you sort of exhaust it up. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with what we just examples we use, like tobacco and um,
Ramen.
eating fucking ramen. But if there was something that would affect your kids or affect your wife or affect your friends or your clients, then obviously there's more weight, there's more responsibility there.
Hmm.
And so then it takes a lot more conscious efforting and exertion to shift that behavior because now it's all of a sudden it's not just about you, there's other people involved,
Mm.
And I think, this is something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. It's like what is full responsibility, full accountability, and full ownership, you know? I'm still trying to figure this out. Like
Yeah.
what what actually is that?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess the like a couple of things come to mind. One is like I'm curious what you think like awakening to the responsibility of being a parent is, like bringing kids in, and what you're saying this fella might be in a process of trying to work out, when he's backpedaling. Like, are you saying that he's aware of responsibility and then trying to deny it, or
I wouldn't say it's more that he's a good dad.
right?
Um, I think it's more the weight of responsibility of raising the child under conditions right now that could get worse. Could, it's still uncertain, still unknown.
Mm,
But if the trajectory of the becoming of what's happening now, there's an increased responsibility that a father needs to take. I guess that's the way how I, seeing it. Because I can feel that with me and with my family. It's like we've spoken about it. Like, what happened if the power been turned off? What happens if can't get
mm,
food? You got to figure this shit out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It would be challenging.
Yeah, it would be hard. So I
Yeah.
think that's more the trajectory of his thought. Not that I've spoken to him much about it. It's
Mm,
just something he briefly mentioned it to me. But it got me thinking about men and responsibility, accountability, just ownership of their actions, whether seen as good and real and true or not.
mm,
And yeah, it's just an interesting thought because it sort of links into like, rites of passage and initiation
for
and
sure.
a lack of elder or guide.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, well, I mean, like if we use that layer of what it is to awaken to something or to become conscious of it, right? Like the tobacco or the ramen, or at another level, like being a responsible parent, um, there's kind of like two parts, right? It's like you become aware, and that doesn't mean something needs to change or that you need to action it. If you do choose to change or action it or shoulder the responsibility, then you're having to make a choice. So like awareness is there, and then that's like invitational for you to choose or decide what to do with it,
Mhm.
which can become real simple and real black and white. It's like with ramen or tobacco, it's like, okay, there's a desire or a craving, something's impulsing me that's like quite bodily to do it. And if you're aware of that, you're not just like running default mode network, then you're choosing to do it or not to do it. And if you keep choosing to do it at your detriment, um, then really you're being dishonest with yourself,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Or you can go like, all right, I'll be responsible here and um, shoulder the responsibility and rise above the craving. What would that level be in the parenthood thing though? That's what you were saying. It's like it becomes self-preservation then.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like opposed to not getting tobacco or not getting the ramen, you're going like, well, the responsibility is like so big that it puts me in second place when it comes to parenthood.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like self-conceited, the self-conceited nature. It's like you just choose yourself, me, my, mine. When it's like, what are you modeling to your kids, It's like I've been really trying to inquire into these things and how,
Mm,
we grew up, we didn't grow up watching our parents stare at screens, but our kids have grown up watching their parents stare at screens. So we don't know what that's like, right?
right.
So we can't say to our kids when they call us out when they're older, we can't go, well, because we don't have that reference point. So there's a level we will have to be honest. Sorry, we fucked up. I was staring at my screen too much. And at the detriment, it's affected you. So I think come back to the ownership piece, and you could have hit it there. It was like an honesty. And it's like, what are you aspiring towards? What's the aspiration? Because you could keep going along smoking the tobacco, drinking the beer, eating the ramen. Yeah, be aware of it, and then at some point there's gonna be a tilt, and it's gonna become unconscious again, and then it's just happening,
Hmm.
and then the process starts again, the cycle starts again of making it aware, but then there's a deeper groove. There's a deeper groove running that you've got to try and create a new groove from that. I just know that just from getting trying to get really honest with my phone use
Mm.
and just not scrolling for no reason or not using social media just because I want a dopamine hit. Like trying to be intentional with the platforms. There's been a process because I fucking made the giant most deepest groove that I'm now having to fill in as I go to make it so it's not a big deep groove and it's sort of starting to climb out. Like my usage is going down. But the first step was like to just sit back and go, yeah, I've got a fucking problem.
Mm.
I need to take full ownership of it. And I think that's, when I'm relating that to parenthood, it's an awakening or, spiritual awakening or becoming more awake or conscious as a parent, conscious parenting. It's a process. There's a latency and a lag there. It's not all of a sudden like I'm awakened.
No.
There's a huge latency between the what you become aware of to the completion of said thing.
Yes.
I'm aware of this problem, and then it's like, well, you've got a lot of digging yourself out of a grave to be looking at no grave, no headstone.
Mm. Yeah, I think that that journey is where initiation comes in
Mm,
a
yeah.
lot of the time. So it's like becoming aware or illuminating something. And then if you take ownership and responsibility of that thing, then you have to like take the action to move away from it, like stop holding hands with something maybe and move beyond it.
Mm,
And that's where initiatory practices become really useful. The thing is that it's like the world's so complex now. So it's not an easy thing. It's like how do you sort of stop holding hands in the digital age with something like a phone?
yeah.
Something we haven't had to navigate before, or make peace with, So like options that aren't drastic are really hard to find. And it's like similar with food
Mm,
in this world too. It's like a lot of the time the solutions like they're quite drastic, quite extreme, not an easy thing to do. Um, and so initiatory frameworks can be useful if it's something that is like really damaging to move away from that. You need to go through a whole change, like an identity change.
yeah. I was about to say our full identity needs to die.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if we use something that's extreme to like clarify what we're talking about, it's like going from someone who's addicted to something, an addict,
Hmm.
you first got to like become aware. So like I'm an addict
Yeah. Own it. Yeah.
and track the pattern. And then, yeah, and then it's like, okay, that's damaging me and those around me. And then it has to be conscious choice to step into something else. And so like some type of embodied process is very valuable then to go like, well, I see it and I'm not going to reject it because there's a very um, tempting path to just like do the ping pong pendulum swing thing and go like, well, I'll reject that part of myself and try and be something else. And that sort of creates a bit of a charge
Yeah. Yeah.
opposed to the like, I'll see it, acknowledge it, have a bit of compassion
Hmm.
and reverence for it. And I'm gonna move beyond it. So again, like let go of that, let it let it
Hmm.
die. I think this is I don't know if we spoke about this or not, but I've spoken about it before and I've heard other people where it's like you get to that real messy, crunchy bit where it can be like I feel like killing myself, or I
Hmm.
feel like I'm gonna die, starts to get like life threatening, but it's like the life of that version of you being threatened by the awareness
Hmm.
that it's going to be required to you're going to be required to let go of it to move beyond it,
Yeah,
right?
totally. And it's like because with the increased clarification and like resolution of what's happening, and like that crunchy bit you're talking about, that protective part that may come in, defensive protective, or often there is a part that's trying to defend the identity structure,
Mm.
will tempt you with a reformation, like a rather than just a unknown, uncertain, complete deconstructive breakdown. And then it's like it grows into this, but you don't know what it's going to grow into. There's that tempting of like, I know what it needs to grow into. I've been there a million times, and it's like, it's taken me a while to sort of stop doing that.
Like it wants to reinvent itself.
Wants to reinvent itself, wants to repurpose itself, the identity, like it all, and it's convincing. And you see it. It's in all these different spheres online where
Mm.
people will stop doing drugs, and then next minute they're addicted to cacao and mushrooms and ceremonies, and that's
Uh-huh.
it's just changed shape. It's just changed form,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And it's yeah, it's an
So
interesting one.
what would it look like if it didn't reinvent itself? Like what do you think it looks like for it to actually be moved beyond?
Well, I would say what actually a marker or a signal for a change is not non-reactive, confused. So the reactive, confused mind, it lessens. So you start responding with clarity in all your relationships with yourself, with nature, with life, with strangers, with wife, with child. And that's the marker of it. It's not about you changing roles. Oh, now I'm this. It's a you start to feel free in these, because if the mundane and the divine aren't separate, right? They're not
Hmm.
separate. But
Yeah.
there is a split. It's an obvious split, but they're also inseparable. So for me now, it's like I'm not looking for the ceremonies, all the things, even though that occurs in my life, it unfolds in that way sometimes. It's my signal marker is like how I am I with my kids? How am I with my
Mm.
wife? How am I with my family? How am I with myself? Like an example where it felt like a big initiation for me, using that word, but just fucking sorting my garage out. I just put it off for weeks and weeks. So I thought it was going to take like two
Is this at
hours.
the new place?
This is the new place. It's just absolutely flogged after we moved.
Yeah.
And so I had my little space for my gym, and the rest of it was just cactus, right? And I look at it and I was like, oh, it's going to take 2 hours or more. And I just wasn't making 2 hours. Anyway, I did it. It took 20 minutes. So I
Yeah.
created this whole thing there, and I'm looking at it, and it was like, it's going to take so long. And it actually didn't take that long. Put on some tunes. The kids helped me, got it done, right? But I
Hmm.
had to come up against so much doubt and meaning making, and I had to come up against all of this stuff that was getting in the way of me just doing the thing.
Hmm.
I don't have enough time. I've got to be there for my kids. I'm going to be available for my wife, and I'm going to do the stuff on the computer. All those things. There's like a mini death. It's like a mini identity death. And to let something actually just die, but it couldn't occur until I was doing it. It happened in it, not it didn't happen before or after. It was actually by doing the thing. And then it changed my relationship with just mundane tasks.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I see it now. Oh, I just got to do the thing, not put it off, do the thing, and then I'll get clarity, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just an example of like coming back to you saying about um an embodied process I've been looking, you're always embodied. Like, you're always in a body. You got a body. But then you don't have a body. But like stuff is embodied, whether it's good or less than good, because your trauma's in your body. If you look at the book, The Body Keeps Score.
Mm,
So sometimes, like, doing something like a normal mundane task is the thing. It's not another ceremony. It's not another um, journey, or it's not another meditation, even though they all help. I'm not discounting that. However, I'm starting to wonder if, like, the work or what's responsible and honest and taking ownership is just these tasks or actions that we have made not the work. We put it in a box as like, that's not the work. It's different for
mm,
everyone, right? For some people, it actually is doing meditation and doing therapy or doing all that kind of stuff. Um, because they may be good at that kind of side of things. They might be absolutely elite at the mundane. So
mm, mm.
it's
Yeah,
a
well, I think what you might be speaking to is like this idea, like the one that I'm kind of like propping up in the everyday initiation Substack I got going, where it's like everyday initiation, every day the thing that's in front of you is what you're required to sort of meet
yeah, exactly.
and not fall unconscious to. So it's about staying awake
Yeah,
generally,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
staying awake in your daily, just seeing what it is, like whether it's doing the dishes or
Hmm, hmm,
the laundry or dealing with the kids or dealing with yourself, whether it's like dealing with something that's like a little bit of a block or whether it's dealing with something that's like a little bit of an addiction or whatever it is. It's like if you're on that path, then it's right in front of you. And like the sort of nuts and bolts of this, I think, a big zoom out. And so like um, there's there's initiating into a relationship with that thing beyond you, whatever you want to call it, you know, call it the creator,
hmm.
right? Or there's like initiation into um, smaller stages, so it's like that initiatory process that someone might go through when they become a father, which is like this inbuilt natural right, um, is a thing. But then that sort of daily layer that we're talking about, that's a big zoom out,
Hmm.
and it's a big one for a lot of people to swallow when it goes from like small spiritual practice to like devotional and intentional living daily.
Hmm.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, it's confronting because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of conscious effort and a lot of failure, a lot of being
Yeah.
okay with wrongness. Like, I fucked up, I'm wrong here.
Mm-mm.
That's how I kind of see it. It's like, zooming back into like or out of in, I don't know, to the sort of really big initiatory experiences. Like, it's like what you offer with tattoo, and then you got like Quest, something that I'm doing, like a 90-day container of 3 hours of meditation a day with a head teacher sort of thing. Like, these things that create a container or a an experience that really shock the being so much that there's no flopping back the same way. You can flop back, but it's not in the same way as flopping back, because too much is clarified, and the flopping back is usually just to clean up what wasn't cleared in that process, so to speak. Or
Mm.
kind of like what we've spoken about before with tattoo. It's like you get the tattoo and you walk through the portal, but then there's like that lag and latency to land in said tattoo. It's like when we did my
Yeah.
back and I didn't see you for two years, and I went through
Yeah.
went through all these different things, And then you're like, oh man, we're filling this in really quick, you know,
Mm.
because I put in all this work into the outline. Whereas there's been other tattoos you've done on me where it's like I felt like I landed straight into it.
Hmm.
Didn't know I was getting it, landed into it. Like, oh, this sort of makes sense.
Yep.
So, and that I wonder if that that can happen with say Quest or just these experiences that are quite out there in terms of from a modernity perspective. Going to a 10-day Vipassana retreat. Like, it's not that modern even though it's become westernized. Not a lot of people are doing it,
No.
percentage wise. So, you could do it and then you're like, oh, this is exactly what I needed because this is like I'm already landing in this. And then that sort of like transfer, sorry, all the way sort of through. And then the real work begins is like integrating it into the day to day,
Into the world.
into the world, the moment to moment. And that's what I'm starting to wonder is what purpose is.
Okay.
I
Mm.
think there's layers to it, but like you said to me the other day, it's like, so what's it's right in front of you. Like, oh, how's moving going? How did the move go? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, everyone's this or that. Okay, and then I think you said something like, yeah, it's exactly in front of you. And
Yep.
that's it. Like, you can wrestle with what's in front of you, or you can embrace it.
Mm.
And sometimes embrace is a wrestle.
Mm.
Like I know with my Leo, my son, sometimes he's embracing me with a cuddle, or he's embracing me with a wrestle, and then sometimes it's like goes from a wrestling, punching me, into a hug to a, I love you, Dad, or I'm just getting belted by him and he runs off laughing. So it's
Mm.
sort of like that's the in front of me, and how can you meet it and stay with it at the same time as knowing it's an invitation? Like you said, the word invitation is like it's inviting you to participate more. I wouldn't even say more deeply, I'd just say more openly, more honestly.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's what else is this experience other than that? And this is the thing that I think you're pointing to when you're like, in modernity,
Mm,
these don't seem like a practice or a process that is your everyday or normative, right? Because they're not. They're
mm,
like from older times.
yeah.
They are from older times. They're still accessible. They're still around, right? Where you're actually asked to disconnect from the world story and from the identity that's attached to that and running all of the narratives and see that there's a bigger thing going on. And I think that's like the the main point of awakening. It's like there might be like quite a major point for someone where that first snap happens,
Hmm. Hmm.
where it's like the story and the identity has been building up for so long that they've got no space or separation from it. And then something gives you that. It might be a Vipassana. It might be having a child. It might be, nearly dying. It
Hmm.
might be someone else around you dying, whatever it is, or it could be a gradual boil,
Hmm.
right? Like stuff just slowly going wrong around you until you're at a rock bottom and then you got to realize it and you get some space from the thing. You're like, oh, this whole fucking thing's an illusion. It's
Yeah.
actually not real.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't matter. So what does matter? What's my purpose then? All of a sudden. And it's like you said, story, that sort of outer self wants to reinvent itself and tell itself it can exist and it's okay. And yeah, you've got to be compassionate with it. This is how people can lose their marbles, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is like what is the point? This like there's the utterly grounded practical things that you need to do to exist, especially if you're in a family or again, unless you want to do something drastic and tap out and become a monastic or whatever it is, you
Yeah.
can. But this world is like very, very, very consuming and very, very sticky. So a lot of the time it just comes into like developing whatever relationship or practice that you can to remind yourself that the internal game and staying connected beyond the story is the thing. It's actually the thing that you're here for, you
Hmm.
know? And it's very seasonal. Like that's what we were just touching on with the ramen and the tobacco.
Yeah.
It's like it's seasonal. You sort of
Yeah.
like dipping in and out of this thing, in and out of awareness. And I don't think you can, you have to actively be like on duty. It's
Yeah.
like a candle.
Yeah.
Just like watching this thing going like, oh, I'm gonna have to light another one soon, or like, oh, this one's, need to protect it from the wind a little bit here, or
Hmm.
or it just gets blown out and you're like, poof, that's out. I'm gonna light that thing again somehow.
Hmm.
But you actually can't forget about it. And again, if you do, if you go like, wow, the candle's out, I'm going to push it into the cupboard and pretend it's not there and just double down on my story. It's like, then you're being dishonest.
Yeah.
And that dishonesty creates like harder layers of illusion to remove. You start to convince yourself of something that's not real, opposed to
Mm.
accepting the invitation into the awakening or the realization of what's not real. Going like, oh, that's a difficult thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to cherish it.
I think what you said there about it's important for people to hear, like, putting the candle away because you're going to forget and then eventually you'll remember. But to remember and then to not be honest, like that's the big one because you push the candle away and that creates a more, the only words coming to mind is that it becomes a more insidious, distorted loop. Anyway, I'm just going to use the examples. You see this in spiritual communities and spiritual spaces where people start to take on these self-given roles and start to guide people through things that they might not necessarily be initiated into.
Mm,
And they might have forgotten why they were on the journey in the beginning, you know. Like that happened to me in some sense that happened to me. I took a break from clients for about a year to realize, shit, there's some stuff I've been avoiding, some really dark shit. I had to get really honest, really fucking honest with myself before starting to like open into that space again.
mm,
Because I was like, who am I to lead someone or guide someone when there's these other things, these contradictive things occurring? There's nothing wrong with like some contradictive things coming on, but then if you're not turning and facing it, staying with it, being with it, dealing with it, exhausting it, so it doesn't change shape or change form again, then that's the dishonesty, that's the pushing the candle away.
mm,
That's how I'm sort of like been experiencing it. And it takes, one, to know that you're going to forget, but then when you remember, is to remember why. What's your why? What's your aspiration? And to continue following that sort of, I guess, I use authentic participation,
mm.
you know.
So how'd you catch that in yourself
Well,
before you took a break?
it happened. It just, I moved
Hmm.
and then I just assumed all my clients were going to come online. They're all males, and only a few did. And then eventually we completed those ones what they did. And then I sort of was just finishing my breathwork training. And then after about like 4 months of not doing client work, I sort of started to realize I was like, oh shit, like there's a lot of things there that in some sense I was using client work to avoid myself.
Mm,
avoid seeing certain things in myself. But the contradiction it was showing up in the sessions, as it always does usually, showing up in the sessions. Some of the things they were sharing, and then I'll share something back, and it's like I needed to hear that. I just said
Uh-huh.
that for them and me, and I think that's the honesty part. Is like the that happens with kids. I think kids are the best version of that. Because when you're open, present, connected, honest, if your child's safe enough, they'll let you know if you're not that.
Yeah, they will.
So, like
There's
my
no
kids
doubt.
are safe enough; they call me out all the fucking time. To the point where they even take
Mm.
my if I'm literally so and on my phone. Sometimes I'm even doing something that's important on my phone. They'll still take the phone to let them know that to let me know that what is happening for them is important to them. And I said to them to do this, and it's been quite profound because it's actually like it only had to happen a few times for me to realize that these expressions of their being that as an adult you could be like, fuck, what are you doing? Like, it's just like, like Leo as an example, he learned this new dance move that he made up that he wanted me to witness him in. He's like, Dad, and I was just a bit distracted, and then Ava was like, Dad, Leo wants to show you his new move. Get off your phone. I was like, oh, sorry. I think I was writing a post on. Put down, watched him, witnessed him, 10 minutes, and he was stoked. And then the girls joined in. And it was just this beautiful moment, right?
Mm.
But I had to get honest. Like I could have said, oh, this thing I'm doing on my phone's important. It's more important, or I've got to do this. I don't have time for that. And I think that's like, what we're kind of talking. Well, I'm just coming back to the weightedness of like what holds more weight. If actions are consequential, what action holds more weight?
Mm. Or like, where's it weighted?
Yeah, where is it?
I think of weight as something that like influences trajectory,
Mm, totally. Yeah.
turns the wheel one way or the other and where you're going as you move forward, right? Because everything's in motion,
Yeah,
not
everything's in motion.
stagnant.
Yeah. There's the momentum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like what weight is going to be attributed to ignoring them, or like what weight will be attributed to being present with them.
Yeah. And this is the wild part is just like all this stuff happens like in a second. It's like duh. So it's like on one level you got to work here really in the small time frame, and then also like zoom out on a larger time frame. Is like what experiences am I giving myself that help me create more separation and less gluing to these structures that are dysfunctional, that need to like the parts of us that self-sabotage, or the parts of us that defend and protect our heart, or like the parts of us that are destructive, or reckless.
Mm.
I walked through that one pretty largely. And I think when it comes to like initiation, like what you're sort of like starting to talk to is like there's different levels of the initiatory process. It's like, what are you doing in the small time frame? And then what are you doing in the next 3 months that might be, a bit bigger, a bit more of a bigger or more intensive of an experience that supports the smaller time frame. And then there's in the middle,
Mm.
you know,
Between.
the in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you reckon's the biggest thing people face that like stop them, apart from being like not wanting to be honest and not wanting to be wrong? What do you think's the biggest thing these days?
The biggest thing that stops them from what?
Just like aspiring in this direction, keeping like I don't know if I don't even know if the word's discipline, but
Yeah, it's responsibility and accountability.
mm,
The big zoom out's that because it's like lots of truth, especially like spiritual truth, ends up, being a big bright light on the like paper cutout of you,
mm,
the stories of you. And if you're still identified with the self, the story and the person in the world, uh, those shadows are scary
mm,
and challenging. They require you to like be accountable for the things that you were doing incorrectly or wrong or in an unskilled way or whatever it is. It's like even like I can see my apprehension to use words like what you're doing wrong,
mm.
where you're being shit, where you're being sinful.
Yeah,
Um, and that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest stop. People don't want to hear that. And so usually the person that does is because their like head has bounced off the gutter
yeah,
in some department. And you're just like, or multiple times.
yeah, yeah.
And so you're like, what am I doing?
Mm,
If I'm going to be honest for this moment, it's like, what am I doing? And that's when all of this, the spiritual truth starts to really shine through. And so it's like the biggest block is just that initial one. The self is still too calcified and engaged with and opaque for any
yeah.
of the light to come in,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like the
yeah.
biggest thing. It's like comfortability, acceptability, satisfaction.
Hmm.
It's all of the things that are like
Yeah. Like concretizing.
cookie, the cushy things that people
Yeah.
want in life. They just want life to be easy,
Mm.
at the end of the day. And I think that's why, like, there's um, probably a bigger palette for lots of Eastern philosophy and practice too, because it's like it's more peaceful and calming, and it's like definitely an easier first step when it starts to come to these layers. You know, it's like okay, can just like use some mindfulness. You know, it's like that's an easy way to start to bring some transparency in.
Mm.
But then that next layer you're talking about, where you become like responsible
You get a step in the
and
fire.
yeah, and start making changes opposed to being aware of them. So it's like
Yeah.
awareness first, and then it's like you said, usually, usually it will try and re-represent itself straight away.
Yeah.
So it becomes the guru, master breath work,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
meditation, ceremonial tattooist, XYZ
yeah.
initially.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of light and like, oh, well, I'll do this thing then that's good because I've seen a
Mm.
thing that's bad,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know. And you're identified, so you're like actually a bit like reactive to it,
Mm.
opposed to like, oh, it's actually like beyond me as well, because that's actually everybody here. All humans have the story, so it's like it's a human thing, not
Yeah,
just a me thing.
it's a species thing, isn't it?
Okay, so it's a species thing, and then you start getting into like, well, okay, well, if it's a species thing, then what's beyond, like, even beyond that?
Mm. Yeah.
Then, like, oh, we start getting to like real primal layers of like, what even is this thing that I'm in? And then you get even further deeper into that, and then it's a layer of like, well, what
Do I
is
exist?
what is the point of existence then?
Mm,
Like that's just most people's story. That's like it's derailed now. What's the point in being like, you know, a tradie or this or that, or like trying to achieve the vision, the thing, the material thing that you've set is like that's what I need to get to. And when that stuff starts coming in, if you're like actively in the pursuit of something that's like just worldly,
mhm.
and that's what you've set as your marker, it's like you don't want to hear the other stuff. Usually has to be those things being already jeopardized by life somehow that provides the opportunity for the introspection, the cracking, the invitation.
Yeah, I think you're on the money there. These days, people need to have a good. Well, that happened to me, but this was like 10 years ago for me. But I think people need the slap of adversity. I call it the God slap, but it's like you got to get slapped by God, and he might give you a small pat, but eventually he's going to slap you so hard that you can't not. That's like those people that get sick or they get in a motorbike crash or they severely hurt themselves because they're just being, whether it's mentally, emotionally, they destroy a relationship or whatever it is, right? And that's when they start to wake up to what is happening,
Hmm. Yeah.
but then it's a slippery slope into like there's been a few points where you've said like, what's the point? Like that's quite a nihilistic. Then you go into nihilism. Well, what's the fucking point?
Well, it's if you if
Why?
you if you conclude there is no point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like asking the question why is not nihilistic.
No, no, no. Ask the question, but landing in a place of then well, is I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, there is no point.
There is no
Everything's
point.
meaningless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people end up there. And it's like, so there's like quite naturally, there's stages where your constructed story and your illusion wears out, it decays. It just decays. It doesn't fit anymore. You outgrow it naturally in cycles.
Yeah.
Like when you stop being in fantasy world as a kid, beautiful stage,
Yeah.
but it wears off at some point. I think in the Steiner stuff, it's like 9 years old. It's
About
like when you
nine.
get,
Yeah.
yeah, you get that
Yeah.
first awareness, right? And
When
then
the
it's
when
like,
the teeth drop or something, I think.
yeah. So there's all these different like systems that have been, or patterns that have been observed
Mm.
of when they happen. And there's obvious ones, right?
Yeah.
Like boy to man, girl to woman. But I think it also happens in these more prolonged cycles, especially now, because like we're so encouraged to construct versions of self that aren't married to the image of a creator and a life that is worth living
Hmm.
beyond the material, like one that's actually embedded in something that's bigger than that. And I guess like midlife crises would be a similar one, and lots of like family unit breakdowns would be a similar one, and coming out of job roles like veterans would be another one.
Yeah.
There's all these moments where it's like the thing just deteriorates, doesn't fit anymore. Old skin, got to shed it. And then we don't have really good pathways. Like this
No.
is where initiation's lacking. This is the huge gaping hole. It's
Yeah.
like how do you move from one version of self in a healthy way that incorporates the one you're moving away from and into the next one? Tattooing's been that for ages.
Hmm.
Quests have been those things. Like all of these different pathways have been those things. You know, um, and they can be integrated into like still being in the world. It's just
Yeah.
like a growing awareness and a maturity
Yeah.
that it's not the story. You can be less attached to that next version of you. Like I think I used the language with you with this studio setup, right? It's like third studio, okay? Third time I've set somewhere up. And I think about the first two times, especially the first one, it's like just become a dad.
Hmm.
So I hadn't gone through the full grieving. And you're like, oh, we're going to be parents. This is what our family is going to look like. And this is what owning a home is going to look like. And it's like, what? what this next stage of life's going to look like, right? And fit out the studio. And it was like 2 years later, we realized we didn't have that image right. And we're going to sell and move. I was like, oh, studio. Here's, I built up this thing. It's like 2 years later. Same thing in Mullum, then COVID, and then the flood. And like, okay,
Yeah.
it's gone. And I reflected when I was starting with this space, and I was like, oh, those first two times were like a little kid building a sandcastle on the beach for the first time that didn't realize the tide comes up and takes the sandcastle.
Yeah.
You know, you're building this thing and you're just like so in it. And it just be like, oh my gosh. And then you build another one and like another kid comes over and smashes it, or like your parents are like, gotta go now, mate. And you're like, oh my gosh, build this thing, it doesn't last. And I think a lot of these cycles of identity and these ongoing invitations into initiation and growth, can be overlaid with that, where you get to a point where it's like, well, I'm here and I'm I'm probably going to build another sandcastle. Why not?
hmm
Life's inviting me to do that, especially if you're a parent. My kids want me to be Mark, their dad.
Yeah.
They want you to be James, their dad. They don't want you to be, you know, living in
Guru,
a,
guru
yeah,
man, meditation
I
guru
am no
man.
one,
Yeah.
I am, living on the mount of I am, and I am no one, but I am everyone. Like they don't want that. They want you to
Uh,
be a human and build an identity
well,
again.
they want you to be yourself.
But you can be less attached,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and you can know that that's going to wear out too, because they're going to leave at some
Yeah.
point, and you can't be attached to being the dad either. Like you said, they're constantly outgrowing our perception of them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like everything's moving. It
Yeah.
requires us to just pay as much attention as we can, and not to have expectations of ourselves to be able to be
Everything.
on point
Mm.
all the time, like I'm the ultimate tracker of my perceived reality. I know when my identities are
Yeah.
forming and diminishing in the moment. It's like, no, it's going to get you. And you got to
Yes.
just equip
Yeah.
yourself each time.
Exactly. It's like not making a ground out of where you are because there is a momentum to life. And I remember one time I accidentally smoked. Sounds stupid, but I accidentally smoked cannabis. I thought I was having CBD flower. Turned out to be not CBD flower. Anyway, I had it and I started driving to the park and I was like, oh shit. I was with my wife and kids. And then she's like, here I am. Like, I think I accidentally smoked cannabis. And this is when I was having this like 4.5 year stint off it. Having one time. Got to the park, safely get to the park, all good. I'm so high. It was so overwhelming. But I had this moment of a perceptual shift where I realized I was holding my children in an age that they weren't at, or 5 and 3, and I was holding them at 3 and 1.5. And I realized I was like, holy fuck. I've been stuck looking at my two girls at a year younger than what they
Mm,
are and how they actually are operating and what's actually happening. So I created this ground of like, oh, they're still babies. They're not, they're always going to be my babies, sort of thing. And since then, since that experience, it's like really given me like a reference point. Just check in. Where are my kids actually at? And
mm,
just being honest with where they're at, not where I think they're at, or creating a ground. Oh, this is where they're at. Yeah, cool. This feels nice. This ground feels nice. Kind of like what you shared about the tattoo studios. It's like, something sometimes comes and shakes the ground, changes the shape of it. And you can sit there and go, oh, fuck, I didn't like this. I don't like this. And then resist what's happening, which creates more unnecessary shit, or double down further, try and create an identity about the change that's occurring. So there's almost like this
mm,
weird openness, like you're being with the expansion and contraction at the same time, an openness and a closeness, and you're just trying to hold it in some sort of way that like helps you move through it. And I think this is where initiation processes and pathways, because people will get stuck in one side. I'm expanding, as if they're just going to keep expanding like a fucking balloon. Well, guess what? Balloons pop eventually. Or the other side is like it just contracting to the point where it's like maybe your balloon needs a little bit of air
Mm.
or helium, you know? And, you know, there's multiple ways people can use initiation. I think it's finding, I don't know about you, but I've noticed like with my journey, if I reflect back, there was definitely some processes that I would have done or things I would have done where I've been like way off the mark. Like if anything, it made more kinks and twists.
Like what? What sort of
Like
things?
I think one of them was I'm not going to name names, but one of them was just with these two ladies, and I did their course, and I came out of it like there was a grandiosity there. I felt like but I was bypassing so much
Hmm.
stuff. Like, and that's when I started to like really put on the roles and the hats. This is in 2020. And it took 2 years for that to sort of process separate and then having to separate from them. And even though I learned a great deal, it wasn't like I didn't learn from them, but the process in which of unkinking and untwisting and was painful. And it took so long to have calm and peace in my mind after going through that.
Hmm.
And I had an elder warn me about it. I just didn't listen. I had an older dude. Well, you met the wizard. You met the wizard that time.
Oh, yeah.
The wizard warned me. This older man. He's like, "Oh, I just want to warn you." Like, but I didn't. For my brain was like, "No, it's a different lady.
Uh-huh.
It's not her." You know, this was like a shaman woman. And then in reflection, I was like, "Fuck." And even though you could go, "Oh, but it initiated you into discernment. Now you don't put people on pedestals." Yes,
Mm.
sure, I need to go through it, but
Mm.
I think it's a just have a pause before you go and do something like some sort of initiatory process. It's just have a pause and a stop and really make sure it's what you want to do. Because once
Yeah.
you go down the slippery slide, you're going down the slippery slide. You know.
Yeah. 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 Like you
Um,
said, sometimes it's so you can decide not to go down one again because you know what it's like,
mm,
but I think like these bigger cycles of initiation are kind of you stop needing slippery slides too, right?
totally.
So it's like I think there's a layer of people seeking initiation that are like picking up and putting things down in cycles of like wandering where real clear initiation stops the wandering and it brings you into relationship that then just compounds and deepens in that trajectory that you've set up. Does
Yeah,
that
it's
make
like
sense?
the directionality of your being takes will take shape, takes form, like but
Mm.
in a way that's aligned to you.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's like I'm doing this because I'm thinking of looping,
Yeah.
experience is looping. And people talk about this in lots of different ways, but if we use the initiatory language, it's like, and the initiation has a threshold or a doorway or a gateway that you are coming towards, and then there's the option to move through that thing. And if you initiate, it's a one-way move.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't go back through.
No.
And so I think a lot of the time people are sort of like coming up to these thresholds and it's like they might be taking doors or picking doors that actually don't move them across the threshold. And I think this is where you get a lot of like pseudo spiritual teachings and processes. It's a tricksters and performance and stuff.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time, it's like you need to engage with those doors and go through them to realize and sort of work out like what the doors are. If you open it and it's like you can see what's on the other side and there's something that's like really alluring and tempting for you that you can step into and be that thing, but you're still in this same room. You haven't moved into the next one.
Yeah, yeah, it's just looping
After a
back
while, you
through.
put every single costume on that's
Yeah.
behind every door and just like, I'm done. I'm going to pick that door that I opened that when I look into it, it's just black
Hmm.
and it's complete mystery and unknown. And I was avoiding that thing because the other doors were more enticing, but I've walked through them all and all of these people that are still here, I'm not on the same page anymore. And then you walk into that door and it shuts behind you and you don't go back into that door. You don't go back through. You move from that space.
The door disappears.
And then this is that thing that you were talking about where it's like all of a sudden you're in a process of like you don't know what that next thing actually is. And
Hmm.
so it's like you need this is also where having that established relationship with something beyond you, which involves trust and courage, is probably one of the main things that I think gets supported and slowly reinforced through initiatory cycles is like, that thing is real. I am supported.
Yeah, it's like a deepening of faith.
Creator is there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, I can't believe I doubted at that time.
Mm.
That sort of like reconfirming things for yourself sometimes is necessary too, you know? Like you might need to walk through the door into the darkness a couple of times to be like, I'm
I'm here.
ready for those doors now.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what would you say then is like something else we were talking about in discussion today with the cohort I'm doing was like, the nature of the mind is luminous. But, these doors or door, like that main door, you are stepping into the dark, and because you don't know what you may have to face in order to become or unbecome. Um, but then there's like an increased, once you start to have a gain or cultivate enough trust and courage and connected to faith, a luminosity starts to occur. And you start to see, oh my God, it's been in front of me my whole life. Like one for me recently, like, I've been avoiding this door of having conversations with people and recording it, just putting it up. Been avoiding this for years, years and years. But then when I look back at the thread, that's all I did as a kid. That's all I did my whole life is just have conversations with people, having specific conversations with people, and now I'm like, there's something about this. I'm gonna, even though there's been so much doubt and fear and I don't know, hesitancy, there's a trust and a courage that's starting to build. I'm moving towards it, you know, and like in that there's like a luminosity starting to occur as well. It's like starting to get a little bit brighter. Other things are starting to get brighter.
So like more vision, more
Yeah,
visibility.
more visibility, yeah, more resolution to like what's actually happening.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, because I think, you know, what we're here to do or how we need to be or whatever, there's multiple roles that inhabits. But, you know, this a guy I study, Peter Ralston, and he talks about certain themes and categories in your life that are purposeful. He doesn't talk much on purpose, but someone asked him a question. He basically uses it's pretty funny. He goes, "You don't remember every shit and taco you've taken or eaten. You don't remember that. You don't remember every single one. He goes, but why is it that you remember certain categories and certain themes throughout your whole life? Why is it that they're etched in your memory? And then he just left the person with that. He goes, maybe there's some purpose. Maybe there's something to inquire into. And that hasn't left me because when I like reflect back to certain themes and categories in my life, it's like I'm like, oh, it's like right in front of you.
Say that last bit again. So it's like you don't remember all of the tacos.
So you don't remember all the shit
But
you've
what?
taken, all
But
the tacos.
which bits do you remember?
So like you remember certain things in life. Like, I know for me, I've been a disruptor. I know I'm a disruptor. Happened in prison, happened in the military, happened at school, it's happened in friendship groups. I have it just occurs. I'm not trying to disrupt. I might just say something.
And
Yeah.
then there's like a theme that
There's a
you do
theme or
remember.
category that I'm like, oh, I've disrupted.
Uh-huh.
Or like, I don't even know if there's another word for it. That's the only word that's coming to mind. Rebellious, or maybe I've provoked or I've been an antagonist, brought in a different way of thinking out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Like there's a fire. Oh, pour a bit of fuel on the fire. Don't do that. Just But I think
Yeah.
about that, and I was like, oh, that's been happening since I was a kid. I did that when I still remember this moment where I challenged the teacher. It was 9/11 just happened. I went to school and I challenged the teacher about how does a plane bring down a steel building? I said that in the classroom, and then I got sent out of the classroom.
Mm.
And then I told my friends, like, it doesn't make sense. And I was just telling you I was 9 years old or something, 10 years old. But why do I remember that? And not ever any other conversation I had with my friends when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, that when you walk into that door, you start to maybe realize that a lot of the things that you were chasing when you start this path is, it's way off the mark. Not completely. Like you have your roles, you have your different things that you engage through, but I think I don't know, this the qualities of your being that come from something more than us, that have a way of whether it's inspiring or lifting up or healing or motivating or disrupting, provoking, whatever it is. It's these parts or qualities that we're not growing into. The only other way I could describe it is, how you've got like schizophrenics and bipolar and BPD, and you got all these narcissistic disorders. You got all these disorders, right? If you were to
Yeah.
go into, they don't have that in the East because
Uh-huh.
there's not. I don't think they have that in the East. That's sort of like they probably would go, "Oh, you're meant to be this. You've got these qualities, so you got to go over here and be over here."
Okay.
And then it's like,
I think I'm
"Oh,
tracking.
do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?"
Yeah. So
It's not right about a role or an identity you wear, or it can sometimes you not like another way to look at Bill Plotkin talks about this is like some people's purpose is quite literally to look after land, a piece of land and garden because they are so in tune on a level that most aren't, that what they do with this one piece of land to what an ordinary person goes, oh, they're wasting their life. When actually that's the opposite of wasting life. They're actually probably it's more purposeful than what this other person has fabricated and put meaning into.
uh-huh.
Got to do this, got to help that, rather than this one person who's just minding their own business, praying, looking after the land, being there, living humbly, living simply. That could be the most divine thing. But then one other person might go, no, you've got to become this role and help out this, do this. So I think that's like for me, that's something I've been inquiring into and contending with for ages now. It's like, what? what am I, what am I here to do and how am I here to be? S- That's being myself, being yourself
Yeah, yeah.
and growing into that. Not what someone's telling me to do, not what I think I need to do, having that dialogue with Creator, God,
Mm,
that
mm,
open dialogue, which sometimes becomes unopen. Can't be to the
yeah,
tobacco at the start,
yeah,
Sometimes we gotta,
yeah, yeah. Yes, I'm hearing like that you're saying um, that potentially there's like a pattern for your purpose that kind of just shows up anyway through life, and they create memorable impressions on you. If you reflect, you can kind of see what is innately there in terms of what you do,
yeah,
who you are, how you engage with the world, and that maybe in times gone by, a wiser member of your community or your social circle may have been able to identify what that particular pattern is and give you some guidance around it.
yeah. They the wiser, more older member would steer you, would guide you,
Mm,
not forcefully. Well, maybe in some communities it might be, but might be like, hey, just noticing this is how you are being. These are really powerful and good qualities. Maybe you should go hang out with Gary over there. Gary's doing some similar stuff, but then Gary's like between the elder and the
mm,
younger one, and sort of like that, just a pushing towards. And I think that's what's missing for us now. We're just trying to winging
yeah,
it.
well,
Like,
the world's changing so quickly that I think it's outpacing the development of those patterns.
yeah, yeah,
I think Joseph Campbell speaks to it.
mm,
So it's like patterns and roles within the world and the community, and also the story behind it. It's like you understand the archetypes through mythology that can't, like, we're changing so quickly that we don't have the time for a story to develop that sticks
mm,
and makes sense. You know,
yeah,
it's like you and me were born in a world that had no internet. Yeah.
mm.
And now we have kids that are in a world that has AI. What's the next generation going to have? It's like we don't have a story that adequately represents what's happening in the world yet. You know, it's like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can probably zoom out and pull ancient patterns, some ancient patterns, but it's like, it, yeah, well, it sort of loops back to like, what's the thing that's stopping people?
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
totally.
it's the, the pattern and what's happening is like pretty difficult to see. I think there's lots of people that are currently, trying to illuminate, to use that language, trying to bring luminosity to what the current pattern and stage is, right? Uh,
Totally. I think there's some people out there that are attempting
yeah,
to create some sort of bridge to what's
yeah.
happening because it
I
is
mean,
happening too quick.
yeah. I mean, I have a window into it through tattooing,
Mm,
where I'm like, oh wow, all of the imprints, all the stuff that people are on the inside is coming out, and it's very messy and very incongruent,
mm.
and they got no idea. So it's like I'm seeing that all the time
Yeah, I imagine.
in
Oh,
that
I know.
space, and
Yeah.
sort of trying to work out what the thing is, but it's like it's hard to know. I'm like, you kind of learn as it's going, or you get more visibility as you're going, but um what to do with that, it's a
Well, I
tricky
think I
thing.
wonder if it comes back to those that, know they're on the path, they are aware, they have done some form of practice or something, right? And it's about really trying to integrate the daily And is that the only way moving forward that's going to really create lasting and permanent change or a shifting of a pattern? Because if you go do your one Vipassana retreat a year, or your one quest, or your one ayahuasca retreat, or breathwork retreat, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That it's just like having a dose.
It's experience seeking.
Yeah, it's still experiencing seeking when, you know, it's like I remember a therapist once told me, um, like, look, James, I see you 1 hour of a week. 1 hour. I'm here with you for 1 hour, you know? The rest is up to you. And it kind of reality checked me. I was like, fuck, because this is early on in my journey. I was really putting a lot of um, responsibility on the therapist to fix me.
Uh-huh.
Fix me, fix me. I'm fucking broken. But it
Give
was
me more
like,
medicine.
but it was like, she said, or I think he or she, I can't remember. Yeah, basically just checked me. I'm with you for 1 hour, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like, yeah, well, fuck, so many more hours without her that,
Yeah.
I need to be engaging in a way, participating in a way that is clarifying and supporting me in actually changing the ways that are not the way to be, or the ways that are just like the karmic formations, the karmic or the dysfunctional trajectory that I compounded because of my childhood or whatever, it's like, or past life or whatever, however you want to view it. And it's in the day to day
Mm.
where a lot of the work and the lifting, a lot of the heavy lifting is the day to day
Yeah. Yeah. And that's spiritual work.
spiritual work.
So
Yeah.
this trajectory you're talking about, and you're pulling on threads like karma and whatnot, it's like
Mm.
you're not trying to fix something that's just behavioral and again worldly.
Yeah.
You're engaging with it on another level, and your therapist is saying like, "Well, it's up to you, mate." Um, you made me think of something. I'm going to read something to you, bro. Right?
Yeah.
And what it speaks to is like opposed to experience seeking or wanting someone else to heal you or fix you, like not not stepping into a relationship of participating with something. Um, it's like the answer is that you actually need to have a formative spiritual discipline. And again, this is kind of like I can hear or feel the aversion of like where that would land for someone that like we were saying is like still like got quite an opaque story, doesn't want the light to come in. It's like discipline, start getting these ideas of things that maybe they have aversion to, but um, like what does it actually mean to have or participate in a formative spiritual discipline, like as a practice that forms a person over time from one way to another way. And like if you have that, you'll reach initiatory points. It's like you have to do work and it has to sort of accumulate till you get
Yeah.
to the point where you see that door, right? And so to break it down, formative means that it doesn't merely, like you're not doing something merely to inform or express something that's already present. And like these are notes from me talking about working with people with tattoos, right? So it's like your tattoo is not meant to just express something that you already are.
Mm.
It's actively meant to shape your character and
Yeah.
your identity and your orientation in life, right? And it's accumulative rather than immediate.
Mm.
And so when you undertake something that's formative, you should expect it to change you, not simply affirm who you are, right? And then the spiritual layer is the level at which that formation's occurring. So it's meaning and conscience and responsibility and your relationship to something beyond you, beyond that
Mm.
self-preservation that you were talking about, right? And discipline means that the practice is entered into deliberately and repeatedly and held within a structure. So it's not accidental, impulsive, or just an expression or just an experience. So it's having formative spiritual discipline in like whatever capacity, right? It's like we're again in this like really complex, multifaceted world. Is like you're choosing to participate in something, and and it's asking you to be changed, and it's gonna leave an imprint on you as a person and how you understand yourself as you move through the world. It's this active thing, and like that's what at at the crux of it. That's how I'm trying to work with people, and how I'm trying to sort of do the thing myself.
Hmm.
You know, and I think like all of the golden the golden threads that still exist that we still have access to, like we've touched on, things like vision quests and um, Vipassana retreats and even medicine journeys and stuff. I
Hmm.
think that's where they come from. They weren't made up as an experience. They weren't made up for something to be sort of offered under a marquee at the local fair that pops up,
Yeah.
you know? And like speaking to that like local fair and uh, marquee analogy, it's like that's kind of what the social virtual world is. Start a page, pop up a marquee, and sell your experience. People can, shoppers can come and jump into, and there's like
No.
zero requirement for someone to actually form a relationship with something that's going to form and inform them.
Mm.
So, bit
Yeah,
of a
like
rant there.
no, I like that last part where it's like uh spiritual formative discipline. What you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's like
formative spiritual discipline.
yeah, I think and that's it really. That's like it. It's how can you create that for yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
The right way for you, not take it from someone else even though sometimes you have to do that to figure it out.
They're those doors,
Yeah.
James. They're the doors. Like you're saying, oh, I've done some things that I wouldn't do again. And
Hmm.
it's like they're the doors. You're going through and going, like, is this the thing? They
Yeah.
don't really initiate you. They're just part of that stage until you fall into one where it's like, okay, this is this is it.
This is it. Yeah.
I'm in that now. It's like I've reconfirmed that like this is the thing. I'll just keep going with this now,
Mm.
which allows the sacred relationship. It's kind of like our marriage with our partner. It's like elimination of other options.
Yeah.
Now this one thing that I'm doing and I've been initiated into that's devotional can form me through participation over time.
Yeah. It's like I'll just use the marriage as a one. Marriage is like the one of the most, well, from what I found, most initiatory experiences you can undertake
Mm,
under the eyes of God or Creator. Because you're in constant dialogue, whether it's spoken or unspoken.
yeah,
And then, within that is like there's a lot of sacrificing that has to go on both sides. So it's like dropping the self-preservation, dropping the me, my, mine, dropping the self-conceited nature of mind to actually be able to participate in the relationship that brings you closer together, which is it's a spiritual practice. And there's discipline there, you know, and that it just takes the big one's patience. A
yeah,
lot of
man.
patience, a lot of patience, a lot of patience, and um, something that I remember back ages ago, and we just moved house, so I was looking for
Mm,
a job. So I was just out of prison. She just fell pregnant. I'm looking for a job, still on parole. Candace is working. and all I'm doing is surfing and meditating whilst looking for a job. She comes home, she's like, okay, can you clean the house? I'll never forget this memory. And she's like, you clean the house when you home. We're the smallest fucking house. And I, yeah, no worries. Come home. I'd vacuumed like a floor the size of a ping pong table. That's it. She comes home and she's just tired, 10 hours doing childcare, pregnant. And she's like, just blasts me. She's like, what the fuck did you do today? And I was like, oh, I vacuumed the floor. She's like, it's the size of a ping pong table. The kitchen's not done. This is not done. That's not done. What did you do? I'm like, oh, I surfed twice and meditated and read my books and did all my spiritual practices. And she just ended up blasting me. Anyway, not long after that, I found in a Buddhist book about treating the chores. The reason why in the monastic life they have all these different chores they all have to do is to build these other qualities up.
Hmm.
And so I started to treat the chores because I would get frustrated with certain chores, I'd get pissed off with some, or some I would feel inadequate and couldn't be able to do because I had a mother that did everything for me.
Yeah.
And anyway, I started to engage in these chores I was like, I'm gonna make it my spiritual practice. Anyway, little did I know how profound that it would become because it's now there's zero. I don't have anything come up around those things, but how it started to translate and transfer to other things in life, like what you just said, the spiritual formative discipline or formative
Yeah.
spiritual discipline, is kind of like that, you know. Another one is like, you know, a mutual friend of ours gets road rage. Sometimes I have VMs from him and he'll be blasting someone trying to park his car. And you know, I don't get road rage. I just don't. I don't care. But my wife does, and they do. And I'm like, maybe you should treat it like a practice, you know? Because that
Mm.
person in front of you can't go anywhere. they're, they're stuck in traffic too, you know? Um, and I think that's like, you know, coming back to what you're saying is there's the little things you can implement day to day, and then there's the other things as well to engage in those other areas. And it's about trying to create that bridge. What's that bridge for you to create that discipline that bridges it to the spiritual, that then creates the formation to change you at a fundamental level that makes you a better human, just a better person, so that you know, good, true, real. You're not an asshole. You know, you're trying to be there for yourself and your wife and your others and what kids and stuff. Um, and just keep chipping away.
Yeah.
You
Doesn't
know,
end.
doesn't
Keep
end.
grinding.
You know, next
No.
minute you'll die, and then you'll be like, shit. Like, what happens if you die?
What do you think happens when you die?
Oh man, I don't know. I had this so many theories in my brain. It's like, are we just being played by some fat alien in space at an arcade system? You know, that's one of them. But are we in a simulation, or is it, you know, do we die and we go through some sort of bardo like portal, and dependent on how you were in this life, you'll either reincarnate or not? Is there a completion? Is there a point where you complete and then you have choice of where what you want to do next and where you want to go?
Mm.
You know, look at it from a Christian lens. It's like, you know, do you, well, I would say Christian, esoteric Christian. It's like, do you have to get the mind of the Buddha, the heart of Christ, the will of the Tao, marry them all up, and then you can go onward to whatever's next, or stay here and teach as a whatever mortal something. I don't know.
Mm.
I get so fascinated by all the stories you hear from some of these beings that have achieved and accomplished completion. You know, it's crazy,
Mm.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know either. Hey, see. I definitely think there will be a piece on what we were talking about with responsibility and accountability and
Yeah. That realistically just needs to be the basic. That's the unfortunate thing about modernity right now. It
doesn't
is
matter.
it's not because it
You
has
want to
it's
cark it, just make the most of it.
yeah, not really care. Just
Yeah,
jumping over bodies, you know,
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
get on top,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble, you know.
Hmm.
Mm. Just just putting the candle in the cupboard and just going about the worldly experience. Pretty
I think that's
risky.
where that sort of statement comes from, ignorance is bliss,
Mm,
you know, ignorance is bliss. Because I think back, I can't even really think back to what it was like before, but there is this very faint sense of like there was bliss in the ignorance. There was bliss in not knowing.
mm,
Just do what I want. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, slap with the responsibility, accountability piece. It's like, there's a weight to that. Not that it's not bliss in it. Eventually you can flip it into it's quite blissful. It is beautiful. There's so much happiness in it. It's amazing. But like you said before, is like you got to keep accumulating, cultivating, chipping away, and for the most part, it's uncomfortable, it's inconvenient.
mm.
But
Yeah.
then you kind of meet the threshold where like, kind of get it now.
You wouldn't want to experience life without that responsibility.
No, I know. There's something like so profound about it.
Mm, mm,
Like
mm,
how it makes you, how fulfilled it makes you feel. Like I get it, like every day because I've got kids, and you were the same. Like like my eldest at the moment loves poached eggs on toast, and there are days where I don't want to do it, but I'm like, oh, it's better than fucking Cocoa Pops and milk. Not that I give my kids that, but that's
yeah.
what I had when I was a kid. Cocoa Pops and milk. That's why I'm
Mm.
a little bit where I am.
Too many Cocoa Pops.
Just fucking cocoa was it? No, it was cocoa checks, the Cocoa Pop checks. Oh mate,
Oh,
used to have the
heck,
fattest bowl of them with milk.
so
Um,
funny. Here's a question for you before we
Wrap it up.
maybe bring it in. Um, so like, you were just saying the world, it's like you're just going through world ignorance is bliss, right? I'm guessing you're talking about sort of like early stages of life, childhood, right? And then sort of the reality and weight of responsibility and all of the nuance of the world hits home. How do you rectify or balance, because you do this and you bring it in and speak to it a lot, um, that childhood joy and play and sense with the acceptance and acknowledgement of weight and responsibility?
Oh, it's not a big question mark or anything.
No, I think it's an
Eh,
important one. We're talking
no,
about it, and it's like I
no,
know
no.
that you're a proponent for this like lightness
Yeah.
and fun and play. And it's like we've spent the whole time talking about basically pulling your socks up and being accountable for
Well, yeah. I
where you're
guess
going.
for me, I think I'm more naturally inclined to be playful, and for a long time I used humor as a way to avoid pain, and I've now been able to turn. If humor is one of the doorways to humility, I realized there's a humor. Like I've helped a lot of people just with humor. They're going through something super heavy, and I just added a touch of humor in it. It's just brought them into a little bit more fun and playfulness and lightness, and
Mm-mm.
they've thanked me for it and gone, "Oh, thanks, man." Like
Yeah.
I was finding it really hard to connect to that this is actually happening for me, not against me, and I just need to have a bit more fun and just know that it will end. And I think there's that, it's gonna there's the birth, life, death, rebirth cycle in anything, as simple as having a coffee. So you know that. So you may as well try and have fun with it, or try
Mm.
your best to try and find the fun or the play or the joy and reveal it. It's not easy, like by any stretch. There's
How do you discern being stuck in it then? Like you were saying, you were using it to avoid, and I think of the eternal Peter Pan thing,
yeah, yeah.
or like an adolescent that's like they'd rather play a video game than do the dishes, right? Which is like the
Mhm.
crux of that same stuff you spoke about for yourself that you had to level up on, right?
Well, I would see lightness, joy, fun. There's there's an expansiveness, a lightness and ease, the qualitative form to it.
Mm.
So if there's a heavy, there's tension, there's contraction, like a laziness, or like I met this guy I went to school with, and he's a fiery, and his humor is so dark. We see some gnarly shit, he's seen all the things, but his humor is so dark. And I was in the forces, so I can sort of bounce back with him. But I realized the heaviness of it, and I could see the drain it was taking on his wife
Mm.
because she made a few comments. And I suppose I was thinking about that. It's like, when does humor get to the point? You talk about dry humor,
Yeah,
dark humor. I think
yeah.
that's what needs to be picked up, is like at you need to, what is what in the way in humor and play or banter or fun, just tuning into what quality does it feel like? What does it feel like? Because if it's not uplifting, expansive, um, there's a sense of lightness or goodness about it, you're probably way off the mark. And it's probably none of those things. It's probably not fun. It's not play. It's not humor anymore.
Hmm.
And that's what I've learned about myself, um, jumping around, as with the banter stuff.
Yeah, that's a good way to discern it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And just, I think the one you said as well, have compassion. It's going to take time. Like, that's the thing that I've learned the most, is how that whole thing is like, take two steps forward and like one step forward and two step back or something.
Yeah,
That's literally sometimes how it feels. But then you got to also, I tried to reframe it as like, but that one step forward is far greater than the two back. Does it seem like it? Or it's like people are like, oh, what's parenting like? It's like it's 90% really hard, but that 10% is actually 100%.
yeah. That's what you're
100%
going
awesome.
for.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they're like, well, does it make sense? Yeah, no, doesn't make sense. Because that's how it feels. That 10% feels like 100% awesome.
so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, thoughts with you and Candy and the kids, bro.
Thanks, bro. Not long.
Yeah,
Both child.
yeah. So amazing.
It's gonna be good. I feel like it's gonna balance it all out.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon it
Yeah.
will for sure, bro.
Yeah.
So good. Nice one, man.
It's
Well,
lovely
yeah.
chatting.
Thanks for the chat, bro. Put it up. Hopefully, someone listens in and gets something out of it. And if they want to comment or share on your video or ask anything, I'll check in on the video. I'll reply to anyone that has
Yeah,
questions,
yeah.
whatever.
We'll do a collab thing.
Yeah, we'll work
Like,
that out.
work it out. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, bro.
Awesome, bro.